Today I messed up by trying to get my little brother tickets to an event. So prefacing by saying this happened yesterday. I had a small procedure where I was put under anesthetic in the morning, and on the ride home, my mom brought up that my brother was still looking for tickets to a local Halloween event Fright Night at Movie World. I had seen her posting looking for them and my still slightly loopy from anesthetic self decided to make it my mission to find him these tickets. I found someone on Facebook but when I replied they were sold so I turned to here. Reddit. Big mistake. I made a post in a local subreddit asking if anyone had a ticket and received a few messages. After a lot of talking I eventually chose someone and sent the money. And let's just say I wouldn't be posting here if I had chosen correctly. After I sent the money via paid, the person began demanding more money for them to send the tickets which thankfully at least I wasn't stupid enough to realize that I was got. So $100 down the drain for the ticket. Well at this point I'm honestly nearly too bitter to even say more than that I did it again. So I was still trying to find the ticket. Lost another $100 and despite the second seller sending proof of tickets, using a different payment service and the person who was selling the tickets even emailing my brother a screenshot of the email, as well as agreeing to transfer the ticket to my brother's account. He has since ghosted me after that confirmation. Today I messed up by asking out my friend. Not today, but a week ago. I met a girl 3 to 4 months ago in college. At the time, she told me she wasn't ready for a relationship and I was genuinely cool with it because I wasn't really looking to date at the moment either. Over time we remained friends and became pretty close. We talked on the phone just about every day for a few hours and saw each other about once a week, sometimes more and usually one-on-one. Even though she made it clear she just wanted to be friends, I ended up catching feelings and asking her if she wanted a relationship. She was caught off guard and kinda surprised. She ended up letting me down easy and saying she wasn't interested. It sucks because, aside from being rejected, I felt like I lost a good friend for thinking with my dick and not listening to what she said. Part of me feels dumb for asking, another part of me feels like shit for ruining the friendship. Today I messed up and stole a teacher's only joy. The today in this story was 45 years ago. I almost choked when I mathed that just now. I've always been competitive with myself about learning how to do things I'm genuinely interested in. I go all out to figure something out and then I'm off to the next thing, usually. When I was in elementary school, the teachers would sit in a half circle on the ledges of the landscaping. It was an extremely old set of buildings and they were tall and wide bricks. Beneath them, the ground was packed so hard it stayed dusty and if you were looking down, about the only thing you'd see were little holes in this really hard dirt that kinda looked ethereal. At least in the mind of a little kid. There was one teacher, Mrs. Wilson, who was a few years away from retirement, that I didn't know, as in I'd never had her as a teacher, who, every day, would sit out on the bricks with really long pieces of grass, dipping one into a hole, and pulling it out real quick. Then repeat. And repeat until the bell. This went on every day for years and years prior to me noticing her doing that and likely before my existence. One day I just watched her and it fascinated me, so I went over and joined her. She told me that at the bottom of those holes were little creatures and that if you did it just right, you could yank them out of the holes. She had never caught one, but was certain this was true. I can't tell you what that did to my brain other than make me ridiculously determined to yank one of those creatures out of the holes. I was a shitty little kid for doing this. I know this now, please understand I was a child. Over the long hot summer, week after week, month after month, I'd sit in the dirt, with my grass, trying to catch whatever it was I was trying to catch. And then one day, I caught it. It was white and wriggly, and I know now it was larvae. I'm not sure what kind of larvae it was, might have been roly-poly bugs, but I got really good at yanking them out over the summer and I could not wait to go to school and tell Mrs. Wilson. On the first day of school, I ran to show her during recess, and I got one the first try, and showed her how I learned to do it. She seemed excited about it, and she was able to finally get one herself. I was so proud of myself. That was Mrs. Wilson's last year of teaching as she announced she was retiring not long after. For all I knew she went off into her retirement happily. Probably 20 years later, I ran into an old friend, my former first grade teacher who is only 15 years older than I am due to how she was educated, who was also a teacher there at the time this happened and we started talking about all the teachers and different people we knew and Mrs. Wilson got brought up and I asked about Mrs. Wilson BC. I heard she died at some point and I was told this. She retired early because some student beat her at her bug catching game and stole her only joy. I swear Emma, she loved trying to catch that whatever she was trying to catch and that kid just ruined it for her. She was such a great teacher, too. I didn't confess. And that's how I took away an elementary teacher's joy. I texted with my friend I ran into and told me that a bit ago BC I have a horrible memory especially around that time, childhood trauma, i.e., and she doesn't remember even having this conversation with me but she did say Mrs. Wilson was batshit crazy and smelled bad and they were all glad she'd retired, so I guess I did them a favor. I still think she'd have told me earlier had she known for sure. Oh and I did confess and I'm waiting for her reply. My 68-year former first grade teacher. Man, I have stories from my class with her, who boy but no idea where they'd go in Reddit. Today I messed up by getting my wife and I kicked out of a concert for her favorite band, Tool. First year we've attended a concert in 15 years. Wife and I love Tool. One of my favorite bands, but for my wife they are easily number one. In 15 years of marriage we've never been to a concert together, haven't been to a concert since smartphones were even a thing. We decide this is the year and eventually buy tickets for her favorite group, Tool. We did see Smashing Pumpkins for our first official concert just this summer and had a blast. I'm not one of those concert phone recorders, but during the Smashing Pumpkins concert my wife and I were dancing and swaying. We'd had a couple drinks, and she pulls out her phone to record the band when they're playing 1979. She was having a hard time, turned on her flashlight, got all flustered and put it away. I pulled out my phone, recorded maybe a minute of the song for her then put it away to enjoy the rest of the show. Now, time for the Tool concert. Only my second concert I've been to in over a decade and I guess I should have done more research on concert rules. I remember during our last concert that my wife had a hard time pulling out her phone and making a little scene, so without being prompted I pull out my phone to preemptively record for her so she wouldn't have to worry about it. Again, I'm not planning on recording the whole night, or even whole songs. My plan was to record a 30 to 60 clip of some of her favorite songs. That's what we'd done at the last concert, and we've loved looking back at that short recording and reminiscing the night. I should have read the papers posted on the doors as we entered. There was a downpour this night and we were rushing in. They apparently made some announcement before the opening act which I didn't hear because I was in the halls and not at my seat yet, but despite all that I pulled out my phone during the first song and got my wife and I kicked out of the concert. I had no idea this was a rule and apparently it was also an irredeemable mistake. I pleaded with security, offered to delete, hand over my phone, or even destroy it, whatever it took. These pleas fell on deaf ears. I've never felt more terrible in my life. I'd ruined my wife's night. She'd been looking forward to this concert for months and has been wanting to see them for years. We get escorted out the building and sent on our way home 30 minutes into the night. $400 bucks on tickets, $250 on merch. The night went down the drain. Anyhow, just wanted to save anyone and everyone else from going through the pain we'd gone through tonight. If you're going to see Tool or another band this year, double and triple check the venue rules. Or just do yourself a favor and keep your phone in your pocket. Today I messed up by ruining my husband's relationship with his best friend. My husband and I, both 35, have been together for 7 years and married for 5. He has 2 older brothers that he isn't particularly close with. The one person he is very close to is his cousin Aaron. They lived together after my husband graduated college. He was the best man at our wedding, and Aaron even lived with us for a year while we were married so he could finish school. I like Aaron a lot. He has felt like a brother-in-law to me, much more than my actual in-laws have ever felt. My husband and I have had a rough 3 years. Between COVID, there was a point where both of our fathers were in terrible health. We've dealt with infertility issues, and sadly in July we had a stillbirth at 34 weeks pregnant. And Aaron has been there for us through all of that. He is probably the person my husband can lean on the most for support. Last night, I get a call from Aaron's longtime girlfriend Jennifer. She asked if it was okay if she could come over and have some girl talk with me. Jennifer and Aaron have been together about as long as my husband and I have. She has 3 kids from a previous relationship, and we love them. They spend the night at our house, and her older kids dog sit for us. She comes over and proceeds to tell me some serious problems she has had with Aaron, and she is at a loss at what to do. The main crux of her issues are, Aaron is in an insane amount of debt and has basically used her as a place to crash for 7 years. He is constantly criticizing her for her parenting, saying she babies her teenage children. And finally, he's lying about where he's going, and his locations have him at a massage place that does happy endings. I hate to say that the financial issues and the parenting issues, I already vaguely knew about. Even my husband and I have called Aaron out about how he talks about the teenagers. But, I had no idea how bad it was. We talked through it and I flat out asked her if he is going to a massage parlor and getting happy ending behind your back, would you still stay with him? And she said yes. So I gave her some advice about boundaries and talking to him and I left it at that. After she left, I went upstairs and told my husband what she said. He proceeds to have a complete breakdown. He is in tears. I finally get him to talk and he starts saying things like, can I just have one person in my life that I can trust? I can't go to my brothers to talk, and now I can't trust Aaron because I know he's been doing this shit. He's fucking better than this. Just completely and utterly destroyed. I feel terrible. I didn't even think about it when I told him what Jennifer said. I didn't even think that it could ruin their relationship. Aaron is the only person he goes to for advice and really looks up to as a big brother. And I just completely destroyed that image.